Good afternoon and welcome to Smoky Valley Middle School's annual Veterans Day ceremony. We are here to recognize our veterans and celebrate the freedom we enjoy because of their courage and sacrifice. We hope you enjoy the program we have prepared for you today, and we would like to start by having you all stand for the presentation of the flags and our Pledge of Allegiance, and then please remain standing for the national anthem.
Please stand and join me in our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. And now the band will play The Thunderer by J.P. Sousa, arranged by Andrew Ballard. And now our 8th graders will tell us about the history of Veterans Day and the flag.
In 1921, an American soldier, his name known but to God, was buried on a Virginia hillside overlooking the Potomac River in the city of Washington. The Arlington National Cemetery burial site of this unknown World War I soldier became the personification of dignity and reverence for America's veterans. Similar ceremonies occurred earlier in England and France, where an unknown soldier was buried in each nation's highest place of honor. These memorial gestures took place on November 11th, giving universal recognition to the celebrated ending of World War I hostilities at 11 a.m. November 11th, 1918, the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. This day became known as Armistice Day. Armistice Day officially received its name in America in 1926, and it became a national holiday in 1938.
If World War I would have been the war to end all wars, November 11th might still be called Armistice Day. Shortly after the holiday was proclaimed, World War II broke out in Europe and shattered the dream. 16.5 million Americans took part and 406,000 died. The families and friends of these dead longed for a way to honor their memory. An answer to the dilemma of how to pay tribute to those who had served in this latest great war came in a proposal made by Representative Edwin K. Reese of Kansas. Change Armistice Day to Veterans Day and make this an occasion to honor those who have served America in all wars. President Eisenhower in 1954 signed the bill proclaiming November 11th as Veterans Day, and he called for Americans everywhere to rededicate themselves to the cause of peace.
The Old Glory Story. To veterans throughout American history, the Stars and Stripes have served as a symbol of their service and as a continuing testimony that their service was worthwhile. Since many flags of early America contained stripes in their design and several others had stars, there are varying accounts with when and where the first Stars and Stripes was flown. Flag history experts agree, however, that the first Stars and Stripes to have the general form we recognize today did not appear until the summer of 1777, when the Continental Congress formally resolved that the flag of the United States be 13 stripes, alternate red and white, that the Union be 13 white stars in a blue field representing a new constellation. Interestingly, the Congress did not specify the arrangement or shape of the stars, the direction of the stripes, or the relative size of the various components. It was not until 1912 that the flag was finally assured a uniform appearance when President Taft signed an executive order prescribing the relative size, shape, and positioning of the components.
A subject of almost as much debate as the shape and design of the flag is even the question of how and when to display the Stars and Stripes. Since 1942, when a law was first enacted to govern actual display of the flag, the guiding statement has been that the flag should be flown on days when weather permits. The generally accepted interpretation was that the colors could be shown only between sunrise and sundown, and even then not during inclement weather. Growing sentiment that Old Glory should be kept flying irrespective of darkness and foul weather culminated in 1976, when President Ford signed legislation providing that when a patriotic effect is desired, the flag may be displayed 24 hours a day if properly illuminated during the hours of darkness. The new law also permits the Stars and Stripes to remain flying through inclement weather when the flag of all weather material is used. In addition to its historical significance for permitting the national colors to remain aloft indefinitely for patriotic effect, the 1976 legislation may be remembered for giving life to Old Glory. The new flag code contains the provision that the flag represents a loving country and in itself is considered a living thing.
This year's essay readers, Braden Erickson, Libby Blanner, Owen Potter, and Ella Chapu will take us through their papers to hear about their sentimental value of Veterans Day.
Every child and adult has seen a fight or argument in their lives at some point in time. But have you pictured this into a bigger scenario in the world? If you think about it, these things are a lot like how veterans fought for our country through these years. The U.S. has had to endure almost 12 wars and many small conflicts that have happened years ago. Some recent wars were in Iraq from 2003 to 2011, the war in Afghanistan from 2001 to 2014, the Persian Gulf War in 1991, the Vietnam War from 1962 to 1973, and World War II from 1939 to 1945. It hurts to see over 15,000 veterans have lost their lives in these most recent battles and wars. These veterans have given up their time and lives to give us the freedom we have today. A veteran is clearly an important person. So to me, a veteran is a person who shows bravery, willingness, and sacrifice. First thing is, a veteran is someone who remarkably shows bravery. Veterans fight in the battles and wars, which shows bravery, but this also shows they are willing enough to step into danger. It is a scary time to fight, but even when in danger, the veterans still fight. The last way to show bravery is in battles when they help other people, not just themselves. It takes courage to help others, especially when in danger and at risk. I know a lot of people would be too scared to fight or refuse because it's a scary time, things can go wrong, and people could die. But veterans are different. There are saviors, and this is why veterans are perfect examples of bravery. In addition to their bravery, a veteran is somebody who shows willingness. They show willingness not only joining the military, which still takes willingness, but to train for their specific role. No matter what branch of work you are in, you need to practice to make yourself better. They also show willingness by putting in the work to train. Based on what career you have, you will always have to work and practice your job. The last way to show willingness in veterans is by doing what they're assigned to do. When in the military, you can be stationed all over the world. The veterans are still willing enough to be deployed somewhere different, even if it's sad to leave their homeland. This is the willingness that veterans have. The last trait, a veteran is someone who shows sacrifice. A veteran's sacrifice is, in my opinion, the most important trait of all. They sacrifice their time to work, prepare, and train. Each person's daily schedule is different for each branch and career choice, but you have basic training, being deployed, or taking care of a family. They also sacrifice their time with family by staying away from them for so long and not being able to see them. Last is that they sacrifice themselves. In battle, there are lots of people who have lost their lives. They are examples of what a good person is, and we are thankful for their services. Their lives have helped our country be what it is today, and we are super thankful for their sacrifice. In conclusion, a veteran is somebody who has bravery, willingness, and sacrifice. Their service will never be forgotten, as we are thankful for them and their time. A veteran is super important in our nation, and we can't forget them now. Their bravery, willingness, and sacrifice is an amazing thing they can give us. We will always remember their support for our country. Happy Veterans Day.
Clifford A. Johnson, The Battle of Bulge, 1944. My great-grandfather, Clifford Arthur Johnson, who was 27 years old, left on March 16, 1942, to train with the Army in Fort Leavenworth. He was smart in school but never went past 8th grade. My great-grandfather was a carbine marksman, a cook, and a staff sergeant in the U.S. Army. He trained in California and Hawaii and then went to fight in Europe. While he was in Europe, he went to Belgium, northern France, and Germany. In World War II, my great-grandfather was in the Battle of Bulge. During this battle, there was very little supplies, and there was about 8 inches of snow on the ground, and the average temperature was 20 degrees Fahrenheit. He claimed that many of the men got frostbite and struggled to stay warm. My great-grandfather was overseas for a total of 2 years and 9 days. To me, my great-grandfather and all other veterans are brave, committed, and fearless. First, veterans are brave. Veterans put their lives on the line just to fight for us. No matter the orders, they have always answered the call. They could have stayed home with their families, but they chose to put their lives in danger so they could save ours. They have served in dangerous places just to keep their country safe. My great-grandfather was not an outgoing person and very shy, but he was brave enough to risk his life and fight for our country. They were brave enough to willingly choose to serve. They were brave enough to overcome fears to do their duty. Their bravery is what allows them to take risks in spite of the fear of wounds or death. No matter where they are, what the conditions are, or what time it is, they always show bravery no matter what. Secondly, veterans are committed. Veterans dedicate their lives just to fight for us. They miss birthdays, graduations, special occasions, and other important events just to fight for us. They leave their family for months to years at a time, and that takes a lot of courage. Veterans can go across seas and be in a country they don't know and be in areas they aren't used to for a long time, and that takes a lot of commitment. While my great-grandpa was fighting, he suffered a wounded leg. After he hurt his leg, it got infected. Luckily, with treatment, it healed, but it could have gotten worse and risked his life. Veterans have to train for weeks at a time, and that can be physically and mentally hard on a person. They devote themselves to fight for people they don't even know and experience things that can affect them for the rest of their lives. Lastly, veterans are fearless. No matter where they are, hours or days away from their family, from their home, they show no fear. When veterans were on the battlefield, they never knew what life was like at home. They didn't know if everyone was doing okay or if something bad had happened at home, but they showed no fear even if they didn't know how their family was doing. Many veterans made friends or had friends on the battlefield that they lost, but no matter how hard it is, they keep going and keep fighting. My great-grandmother hadn't received any letters from my great-grandfather in over a month while he was fighting, and she thought something might have happened to him. Turns out the mail was not going through on the battlefield. Even when things are hard, when they are hurt, and it's a tough battle, they always keep going and pushing themselves no matter what. No matter the time of day, morning, afternoon, or night, they are always prepared for what can come. In conclusion, to me, my great-grandfather and all other veterans are brave, committed, and fearless. They go out of their way to fight for us, people they don't even know, dedicate their lives for us, and show no fear no matter the circumstances. They are the strongest, bravest, committed, and fearless people I have ever met.
What is a veteran? A veteran is a man or woman who has risked their life for their country. But to me, veterans are more than just that. They're people who risk their lives and spend time away from their family and friends. Some people think just having a uniform and a gun makes you a soldier, but it's the experiences that shape the way how veterans are. But there are more than just the ones who fight on the ground who are risking their lives. There are defenders in the air, on the water, and someday even in the stars. I'd like to share some traits of veterans with you. A veteran is someone who is tough, patriotic, and kind. My first trait is that veterans are tough. Veterans show that they are tough by enduring training to be ready for battle. They know that the fate of the people and their fellow soldiers in their country is in their hands. They show they are tough by not letting a conflict stop them from living their lives to the fullest. Lastly, they show toughness by not waving the white flag when things get hard. If a soldier sees his or her friend wounded, they'll do whatever they can so no person is left behind. My second trait is that veterans are patriotic. As I said before, veterans risk their lives to defend their country, all the people in it, and the symbols of America's independence and freedoms. If that's not enough to make a person patriotic, I don't know what does. When they were needed, they chose to answer the call and serve their country, not only in wartime, but also in peace. Lastly, a veteran shows they are patriotic by doing everything in their power to keep the stars and stripes flying high above the land of the free and the home of the brave. My third and final is that veterans are kind. They are kind to their friends by trusting them until the day they pass. They are kind to their family and do not let any other country harm them. Lastly, they are kind to their Corps. The Corps is the most important thing to soldiers. It's their bunkmates, their training partners, and their friends. I have a request for you. Talk to a veteran and learn their story. I leave you today with a question. What does a veteran mean to you?
What a veteran means to me. Veterans Day holds great importance to our country as we honor America's veterans for their patriotism, love for our country, and willingness to fight. A veteran is a person who has served in the armed forces and military for the United States. My great-grandpa, Bob Glauser, worked in the Transportation Corps in Alaska during World War II. He was drafted right before he graduated high school, and he entered the service about 2 months after graduation. There are many words I could use to describe a veteran, but words that veteran means to me are willing, skilled, and courageous. For starters, veterans are very willing. If you think about it, they are risking and willing to give up their lives on the front lines for our country and you. Veterans are willing to go the extra mile and change locations fully, and they could be deployed and go somewhere so far away that they couldn't be back home for 7 months to a year, and possibly even longer, considering how far they could be, being miles and miles away from home for so long. So they are going to leave their families and everything they had there to go off for a very long time, sometimes without very much communication from families. My great-grandpa, Bob Glauser, left his family behind right after high school when he was drafted and sent to Alaska. In the end, they know what is right and what our country needs. And they are willing to risk it all for lives, family, location, and so much more. Another crucial characteristic of veterans is their skills, because to do what they are doing, they have to go through much training and they have to be very skilled. Nowadays, they have to go through 4 phases of training in 10 weeks, but over the years, there has been more and more training added. First, you have to learn about the job, then you train about your day-to-day duties. Lastly, you get to learn what to do in your specialized field of duty. They demonstrated intelligence and adaptability in their specialized roles because there are a lot of things that they had to know. First of all, everyone knows different things based on what field they are working in, like health, actual fighting, repair, or even the technological people behind a desk. Bob Glauser was introduced to the Army on August 4, 1945 at Fort Leavenworth, Kansas. He took basic training in Texas for 17 weeks. The thing is, they all have to know a lot, and so that is a very important part of their job. Lastly, my final reason for what a veteran means to me is they are very courageous. There are many reasons to prove how courageous they are, but I'm going to start off by saying that they take time out of their life and leave their families behind to help this country. They are very dedicated and they know what has to be done, so they will fight and risk their lives on the front lines. When they decide to be in the military, they are signing up to face lots of danger in doing so. Bob Glauser said when he was working in Alaska, they needed volunteers to go to the islands to bring the U.S. soldiers back, but they wouldn't let him go. They told him he was lucky he didn't have to because it was a lot to witness. In the end, they are just willing to help and do what's right for our country and you. In conclusion, as you can see, veterans are very important to our country because they have fought in the military and risked their lives for us out on the front lines. There are many words that anyone could use to describe veterans, but if I had to choose, I'd say they are willing, skilled, and courageous. After the war, Bob Glauser returned home, and he said serving his country was something he will never regret.
If you are able, please stand during your branch that you served in as the song plays, Marches of the Armed Forces. At this time, we would like to pass the microphone around the audience and ask veterans to stand, introduce themselves, and tell us the branch of service they were in and where they served. Some of our veterans are not able to be here with us today from Bethany Home and Riverview Estates, but their names will be announced by our 8th graders to be recognized.
Craig Marston, United States Navy, 72 through 76, Mediterranean.
Brian Almquist, U.S. Army, 1988 to 2020, various locations all over the world.
Ed Craig, U.S. Navy, U.S. Air Force, various places around the world.
First of all, I'd like to thank the middle school students and the staff for a wonderful program that they put on every year. Been coming here for numerous years, and it always impresses. So thank you. And I'm Darrell Johnson, United States Navy Submarine Force, 71 to 75.
George Hansen, United States Marine Corps, 84 to 88.
I'm Joel Weimer, United States Marine Corps.
I'm Ben Fulton, Air Force, 1999 to 2021 in Iraq and Afghanistan and several other places.
Jerry Webster, U.S. Navy Seabees, Naval Mobile Construction Battalion, 133.
Gaylord Sandeman, Air Force. I was stationed at Kadena Air Base, Okinawa, from 1965 to 1969.
Kirk Young, 1971 to 75, Vietnam, Tule, Greenland, Hill Air Force Base.
Gail Lindstedt, Army, 1966 to 69.
Celia Garrett, Navy. Jane Grossland, Air Force.
John Magnuson, Coast Guard, U.S. Coast Guard Cutter Pawpaw, Charleston, South Carolina.
Ron Nafford, U.S. Air Force, 1970 to 74. Copied Morse code.
Joe Bryant, Air Force and Navy. David Kane, Navy.
Ron Strait, United States Navy, 1971 through 1973, Gulf of Tonkin, Vietnam.
Larry Charbot, United States Army, Vietnam, 70 to 71.
Bill Lawson.
Barbara Briskick, Peace Corps. Aleda Penn, Naval Reserves.
Jason McLaughlin, U.S. Air Force, 2009, 2018.
Sue Todd, Army, 1962 to 1964.
Kenneth Ross Moberg, Army.
Mim Carlson, Air Force active duty, 77 to 84, then Air Force Reserve from 1990 to 2010.
Bill Lawson, United States Army. I enlisted in 1967, basic Fort Bragg, North Carolina, 12-day leave, went to Vietnam, 67, 68.
Theodore Lindgren, Army. Daniel Haso, Army National Guard.
Neil Walker, U.S. Air Force Veterinary Corps, 1968, 1969.
Robert Corbin, Army. Jeff Kennedy, Army Reserves, 1957.
Dan Hawkinson, United States Navy, CG 31.
Larry Potter, U.S. Air Force, 1962 to 66.
Carl Kiltz, Army.
Jerry Kuntz, United States Navy, stationed with the Marine Corps as a Fleet Marine Corpsman, which is a medic, from 1961 through 1966.
Robert Marlin, Navy. Vernon Olson, Army, 1951 to 53.
Mitch Rupert, 1987, 1994.
Noel Eshelman, U.S. Air Force, from 2002 to 2006, one tour in Iraq.
Jerry French, United States Marine Corps, 68 to 70.
Jim Fleming, United States Navy, 1969, 1972, Vietnam.
Doug Reed, Army and Air Force.
John Braden, National Guard. Norbert Wise, Army.
Donald Maxwell, Navy.
Lawrence Corbell, Army. Wilford Vargas, Marine Corps.
Robert McCoy, Navy.
Mike Adams, 2001 to 2009, U.S. Army, Iraq in 03 and 05.
I'd like to commemorate my relatives. Deed Eck, he was a medic in Europe in World War II. My uncle Paul Eck was in a MASH unit in Korea. My uncle Don was in the Navy in Korea. My cousin Danny and my cousin Johnny Chance were in Vietnam. My one brother-in-law, Dan Last, was a chopper pilot in Vietnam and then transferred to the Air Force and worked at Beale Air Force Base.
I want to honor my good friend Danny Coombs, who served multiple tours in Vietnam and is having a struggle right now and is not able to be with us. God bless him.
Let's give all the veterans another round of applause. We truly do thank you for your service. We are fortunate today to have U.S. Army Colonel Brian Almquist as our guest speaker. Colonel Brian Almquist served in the Army from 1988 to 2020. Colonel Almquist has seen many parts of the world during his service and many awards and decorations to show for it. Please welcome Colonel Brian Almquist.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, to the staff and everybody that has put this on. Thank you. It's a great ceremony. Students, thank you very much for your participation in this. Band, you sound awesome. And last but not least, veterans that are here tonight, thanks for joining us. So I'll tell you just a short little bit about my military history. Won't go into a lot, but after graduating from Kansas State University, I went on active duty. Shortly after that, I attended flight school and then served the remainder of my time on active duty as a medevac helicopter pilot and medical operations officer. Over 30 years of active duty until I retired almost 4 years ago now. So it's, for all you vets out there, it's getting a little snug, but I was able to still squeeze in. So over that 30 plus years, 14 major moves around the world. Over 11 years of that was spent overseas. I had the opportunity to fly, to serve, and train U.S. forces in over 55 countries throughout the world. From peacetime to wartime and everything in between. I got to experience some of the best places on the globe, but it always seemed more often I was in some of the places that maybe were less glamorous. It really gave me a privilege of meeting and working with fellow service members of every branch, as well as military members from friendly nations around the world. And even though I could tell war stories for days about experiences, I really want to focus on my comments to the students. And I want to tell you a short story about someone I met that touches my heart to this day. So before I go into that, to all the students, I want you to think about what your day is like. What are your summers like? What do you like to do? Are you into sports? Maybe gaming? Is it hanging out with friends, riding bikes, summertime begging your folks to let you go to the pool for the day? Some of you may be even thinking about what you want to do in your life. Where do you want to go? Well, when I was deployed to Egypt, we would on occasion be able to travel into some of the small villages for the day. There's a small coastal town named Dahab on the Red Sea. It's probably about the size of Lindsborg, I would guess. No one could probably ever tell you the population of it. It had a beautiful small beach, though, so it attracted some scuba divers and other visitors. And that's where I met a young girl named Shema. So see, as people would go into town, groups of kids would be on the street begging. usually trying to get you to buy little trinkets or bracelets. So friendship bracelets aren't new. They've been around forever for all those that are into that now. So these were Bedouin kids, unkept hair, worn usually homemade clothing. And they lived outside of town in a kind of semi-nomadic life. My buddy Jim, who I was with that day, and I became the latest target of their sales pitch. They could be quite bullies at times, pushing each other to the side, trying to come up to you to wrap their bracelet or put something in your hand, because then they'd say, you bought it and you have to pay for it. So as we tried to make our way towards the beach where there were a few restaurants, we saw two young girls that had kind of been pushed out of the way. One probably 10 or 11, the other one probably 4. And at my time, I had daughters that were young in grade school, and Jim had a daughter also. So naturally, we tried to shoo away all these ornery boys and asked her, or signaled for her to come up so we could look at the bracelets that she had. When we said bracelets, it was quite miraculous that instantly about 6 other people produced bracelets instantly, trying to get us to sell them, but we, again, told them to stand back. So Shema came up, and she immediately started to tie bracelets around us, which we, after talking with her, we said, we want to buy some from you. Let's just show them to us, but they're so, the culture is try to, sell what they can. So once she understood, she was very happy and showed us her collection of thread-woven bracelets that she and her sisters had made. And we bought several of them, and after a little bit, we asked her to show us to the best restaurant in town. I think she was shocked at first because she kept looking at us and didn't quite understand what we were asking her to do for us. Of course, hindsight is she probably had no idea. She would have never been allowed to eat in any of them if she had money, even if she had the money. Regardless, she finally understood and began leading us down the street with 10 or 20 other kids trailing behind us, and we had a new tour guide. As we approached some of the restaurants, an owner came out and started yelling, I have no idea what, but I can guarantee it wasn't good, at the kids to leave and get away. And after some convincing of him that we wanted Shema and her sister to stay with us, she was allowed, so to speak, and we continued on our way with our our tour guide and translator. Now, restaurants aren't quite like you might imagine over here. Seating is on the beach. They'll throw a rug down, and they put up kind of a canopy with some walls made out of rugs and so forth, basically to just mark off your little area of sitting. So we sat down with Shema and her sister and ordered lunch for everybody, including them. Jim and I told her that we had daughters, and she was so intrigued that we carried pictures of our daughters with us. She wanted to know everything about them, amazed that they went to school all day long, the things they like to do, and for my 2 blonde-headed daughters, was fascinated by long blonde hair. So over the next several months, many of us would try to get time off on a Saturday afternoon and drive to Dahab to eat and really just get away from base for a little bit. And we'd always try to find Shema to chat with her. Soon my girls started mailing packages to me because they were all stateside. They'd send one with a brush and a whole bunch of hair bows, and I specifically remember giving that to Shema. I think she had 6 bows in her hair. So if you can imagine, just frayed dark hair everywhere with bows all over the place. And she was thrilled. One of the female soldiers that was with us had a small little compact, and she couldn't stop staring at herself in the mirror. Our friends would sit and laugh and joke and have a good time relaxing. And Shema, I don't think, ever knew that we saw her sliding her lunch to her friends under the wall that weren't allowed to come in. One visit in December, Jim and I were sitting with Shema trying to explain to her Christmas. We were talking why it's important to Christians and trying to give her a kind of a little one-on-one, as much 101 as you can when there's language challenges. We talked about the tradition of giving gifts, and Jim and I told her that we wanted to buy her a present. Always humble, she tried to back out of it, but finally realized we weren't going to say no. So we took her to a small store in town, maybe twice the size of Dollar General. I mean, nothing, not anything big. But it did have a little bit of everything. It had hardware, it had clothing, and we really thought she would maybe pick out a dress. It had food, it had some toys, kind of a little general store, mini Walmart if you want to take it. So Jim and I watched her walk up and down the aisles for 20 minutes. Just staring in awe of all of the things in this store. Reassuring her several times, pick out anything you want. We finally saw her walking down the aisle towards us, carrying a large can, so think of an old coffee can or something like that size. And she humbly walks up to us and says, "Are you sure this is okay? It's my brother and sister's favorite." As she handed us a can of peaches. Jim and I were so taken back, he ran down and grabbed a second can. So can you imagine being asked to walk in a Walmart today, kids? And say, pick anything in this store you want for your Christmas present. And then picking something for someone else. See, Shema's life was a little different. As a Bedouin, she was really a second-class citizen. She had a lot of cards stacked against her from birth. Any real education was a privilege only afforded to others, as was health care, to travel, choices to what she wanted to be when she grew up. There wasn't even a dream. There wasn't even a dream of this is what I want to do when I'm older. After helping her family in the mornings, she was sent to town to try to earn some money. Not that she got to keep it personally. She would eat what she could find, and then at some point go back home to do it all over again the next day. So why am I telling you this story about Shema on Veterans Day? Well, one, it's a remarkable story, I think, of selfless service and caring for others that we could all strive for. But more in tune with why we are here today, it's about freedom. Shema was a wonderful and caring young girl, but she and millions around the world will never know the freedoms that we too often take for granted as Americans. Many of you already have dreams or plans or what you want to do in your life. Some of you may want to take over the family farm or business. You may want to travel. You may want to head to college. And nowadays, sometimes it seems every time you flip on the TV or social media, all you hear is how horrible this country is. Are we perfect? Absolutely not. No country is. Nobody, nothing is. But I can tell you that after putting my boots on the ground all around this globe, there is no country better than America. The reasons you have the freedoms that you do by simply being born an American or becoming an American are because of the men and women sitting in the stands around you and the millions of veterans who have gone before us. Please don't ever forget that. So students, again, today I'm very proud of you and your staff for this, the love of your country and this wonderful ceremony that you've put together. Don't let anyone ever convince or tell you different. Veterans, from one to another, thank you for your service. To everyone else, thank you for letting me share a short message with you today. Have a wonderful Veterans Day, and God bless America.
As we start to wrap up, we will have the 7th and 8th grade choir. They will be singing God Bless the USA, and then following singing America the Beautiful. Please join us in the final verse of that song. It is on the back of your program. All the verses, I'm sorry. All the verses of America the Beautiful after the choir sings God Bless the USA. There are a few people as we wrap things up that I need to thank at this time. Colonel Brian Almquist, our speaker, the American Legion Riders, Tina Adams and the veterans from this morning, the Booster Club, and to our local American Legions, Post and Color Guard. Both of those from Marquette and Lynchburg. We thank you. I would also like to thank our custodians, our 8th grade teachers, and all the staff that helped with today and organizing today's program, and thank the students for all those who participated and contributed to this event. And most of all, we'd like to thank you, our veterans, for your service to our country. Before we retire our colors and conclude the program, we would like to offer our thanks to all of our veterans by offering some cookies and warm coffee and lemonade across the commons through our middle school gym out in our foyer. Finally, if you will take a look on the back of your button, there is a star on one of them. The person with this star is this year's recipient of the flower arrangement that was sitting at the table as you walked in. If you will come forward after the program, we will give you your centerpiece. Thank you to all for coming, and we hope you enjoyed your time with us today. Will you all please stand as Taps is played and remain standing as the American Legion retires the colors. This concludes our program. Thank you very much. Happy Veterans Day.
Thank you.